The Ottoman Empire, spanning from 1299 to 1922, was one of the most powerful and enduring empires in history. At its height, it controlled vast territories across Europe, Asia, and Africa. While it is remembered for its cultural achievements, administrative innovations, and military prowess, the Ottoman Empire also exhibited significant brutality. This brutality manifested in various forms, including military conquests, systemic repression, forced migrations, and genocides. This video delves into the darker aspects of the Ottoman Empire's history, highlighting the methods and consequences of its harsh rule. The expansion of the Ottoman Empire was characterized by relentless military campaigns. The Ottomans employed a well-organized and disciplined military force, known as the Janissaries, which played a crucial role in their conquests. These campaigns often involved significant brutality, including massacres, forced conversions, and the destruction of entire communities. One of the most infamous examples of Ottoman military brutality was the fall of Constantinople in 1453. Under Sultan Mehmed II, the Ottomans besieged the Byzantine capital for weeks. When the city finally fell, the Ottoman forces engaged in widespread looting, murder, and rape. Historical accounts describe the horror experienced by the inhabitants as the city was ransacked, churches desecrated, and civilians slaughtered or enslaved. In 1514, Sultan Selim I led a brutal campaign against the Safavid Empire, culminating in the sack of Tabriz. The Ottomans not only defeated the Safavid forces, but also carried out massacres against the civilian population. The campaign was marked by extreme violence, including the execution of thousands of prisoners and the pillaging of the city. The Ottoman Empire's control over diverse populations required systemic repression and efforts to maintain dominance over different ethnic and religious groups. This often involved forced conversions, heavy taxation, and harsh punishments for dissent. One of the most controversial practices was the devshirm system, which involved the forcible recruitment of Christian boys from the Balkans. These boys were taken from their families, converted to Islam, and trained to serve in the Ottoman military or administration. While some rose to prominent positions, the process was brutal, tearing children from their homes and forcing them into a life of service to the empire. Non-Muslim subjects, particularly Christians and Jews, faced systemic discrimination under Ottoman rule. They were subject to the jizya, a special tax levied on non-Muslims. Additionally, they faced legal and social restrictions, including limitations on their ability to build places of worship, hold certain jobs, or wear particular clothing. Rebellions and resistance were often met with severe punishment, including executions and property confiscations. The Ottoman Empire also engaged in forced migrations and ethnic cleansing as methods of maintaining control and suppressing dissent. In the 17th century, the Ottomans forcibly relocated tens of thousands of Armenians from their homeland in eastern Anatolia to other parts of the empire. This forced migration was intended to weaken Armenian nationalist sentiments and reduce the possibility of rebellion. The harsh conditions of the migration led to significant suffering and loss of life among the displaced Armenians. During the early 20th century, the Ottoman government carried out a systematic campaign of ethnic cleansing against the Pontic Greeks. This campaign included massacres, forced marches, and deportations. Thousands of Pontic Greeks perished as a result of the brutal policies aimed at eradicating their presence in Anatolia. The most notorious example of Ottoman brutality is the Armenian genocide, during which an estimated 1.5 million Armenians were systematically exterminated. The genocide involved mass killings, forced marches, and starvation. Beginning in 1915, the Ottoman government ordered the deportation of Armenians from their homes in Anatolia to the Syrian desert. These deportations were accompanied by massacres carried out by Ottoman soldiers and irregular bands. Men, women, and children were brutally killed, often through torture and other heinous methods. Many Armenians were subjected to death marches, forced to walk for weeks under brutal conditions without adequate food, water, or shelter. Those who survived the marches faced further atrocities upon reaching the concentration camps in the desert, where many died of starvation and disease. The Ottoman Empire faced numerous rebellions and uprisings throughout its history. The response to these revolts was often brutal and uncompromising. The Greek War of Independence saw the Ottomans commit numerous atrocities in their efforts to suppress the Greek revolutionaries. Notable incidents include the massacre of Chios in 1822, where tens of thousands of Greek inhabitants were killed or enslaved, and the siege of Missolonghi, where the Ottomans massacred the population after the city fell. The April uprising in Bulgaria was met with extreme brutality by the Ottoman forces. In response to the rebellion, the Ottomans carried out massacres, rapes, and widespread destruction of villages. The Batak massacre is particularly infamous, with thousands of Bulgarian civilians killed in a single village. As the Ottoman Empire began to decline in the 19th and early 20th centuries, the brutality did not cease. The empire's attempts to hold on to its territories and suppress nationalist movements were marked by continued violence. Sultan Abdul Hamid II, in an effort to quell Armenian nationalist aspirations, orchestrated the Hamidian massacres. During this period, hundreds of thousands of Armenians were killed, and countless others were subjected to violence and property destruction. These massacres were a precursor to the Armenian genocide that would follow 2 decades later.